Hi there, everybody, and welcome back to another video on the Toon Review YouTube channel, where today, once again, Eddie Howe has spoken to the media ahead of Sunday's trip to Spurs. Now, obviously, the matches are coming thick and fast at the moment with the preparations ahead for the World Cup break. Now, there's also a bit of news brought this morning that Eddie Howe has spoken about Newcastle United's trip to Saudi Arabia again, as it was announced by the club that they are going back there and also to play a friendly against Al Hilal in early December. Now, for me, it's fine. It's another way of going on a sort of pre-season training camp, and that's what Eddie's confirmed. But we'll touch on that at the end of the video. We'll talk now about what Eddie Howe did go on to say in his press conference this morning. He had some very interesting things to say, but he started with Joellin. Now, obviously, we know Joellin came off at half-time on Wednesday night. Now, many people thought that that was because of a potential second yellow card, which, maybe he was lucky to get away with in the first half. Of course, he got booked and then made a very, very clumsy challenge around about 5 minutes after that. So for me, was a little bit lucky to stay on the pitch, kind of. But then he went down injured, of course, just before half-time, and Eddie Howe said, right, that's it. His decision was made. He said he had a knock on the side of his knee. We thought he could run it off, but when he said he had to come off at half-time, we knew there was potentially an issue there. We're hopeful it's not serious, but at this moment, it's still slightly unclear. Now, that gives me the impression that Joellin will not be involved on Sunday. It's what I thought when he came off injured the other night, and certainly from yesterday and today, the signs are that he won't be available. Now, whether he was carrying a knock before the game because his leg was heavily strapped, with that taping that they normally put on, and he was a big miss in the second half. There's no doubt about that. We really did miss him. Everton began to push through the midfield quite at will. But, of course, when they hit our back line, as we recall, nothing happened. It was just a brick wall that they hit. So it doesn't look like Joelinton's going to be available. Now, the mid-season trip to Saudi Arabia, briefly touched on it here, just saying the team spirit off the back of the trip was very good and obviously helped our decision to go this time. Now, obviously, I'm going to come on to that at the end and look further into what Eddie had to say about that trip. Now, on Sean Longstaff, a little bit confusing for me to read this because sometimes I wonder, do fans see different players on that pitch to what the managers and coaches do? What Eddie said about Sean Longstaff is, I'm really pleased with Sean. When we came in, I was immediately hit with another lovely lad and a really good character who's Newcastle through and through. Never in question, that, of course, never in question. I've loved working with him, and for me, he's improved a lot of aspects of his game. Now, considering where he's come from since Eddie Howe came in, I'm under no disillusion that, yes, he has improved slightly parts of his game. There's no doubt about that. He's played against some big teams and, he's done a job, to be fair. He's done a job. This is the bit I don't quite get. Athletically, I think he gets around the pitch brilliantly. You can see the ground he covers every week, incredible distances. He's also got a creative eye around the box, and he's been integral to some really good play on that right-hand side of the pitch. Now, yes, the goal against Liverpool that he set up for Isak was a fantastic little touch through, and Isak, just whacked it home, remember. But, I'm not so sure about athletically gets around the pitch brilliantly. Sometimes I think, yes, he covers a lot of ground, but he's a little bit on the slow side when it comes to decision-making with his passes and things like that. If we look back to Wednesday night, he gave the ball away quite a few times. 7 times, I think I counted, and twice that could have led to Everton goals because they broke away. Listen, Sean Longstaff, without a doubt, has massively improved. Okay, there is no doubt about that. But is he one of these players that's going to be around in a couple of years' time when we start to bring in the really, really big names to the football club? I'm not so sure. Listen, Sean Longstaff is a Geordie. He's a Newcastle United fan through and through, and he's living his dream. He's playing for his club, and he's doing a good job. I'm not going to sit here and say that he isn't, because he is. There's some aspects of his game that I think, yes, he can really improve on. But overall, I think athletically is probably one of the things he needs to improve on for me, because he's a little bit slow in certain areas. But listen, who am I to judge? Eddie Howe saying he's doing that, then that's fine by me. In Eddie we trust, and of course that goes for Sean Longstaff as well. But listen, he's in there to do a job while we've got injuries, and he's doing it. You can't argue with that. So interesting to see if he plays Sunday, of course. Now, on the game against Everton, he says, Wednesday really impressed me, not because of free-flowing football or in possession, but our general attitude and performance defensively. The second half, I thought, was at the very highest level. To keep Everton to one shot speaks volumes for that. So, again, what he's saying is what we've all been saying. It was a fantastic defensive performance in the second half. One shot is all Everton got, and you get the Everton manager coming out saying, we deserved a draw. No, I'm sorry, but when you only get one shot, and we absolutely destroyed them first half, there was no question about that. The free-flowing football, etc., was there. It was there for all to see in the first half. But the thing is, these second halves, that happened against Man United. They pushed us in the second. Everton did the same without really causing any problems, though. They get into our back line, and it's like I said earlier on, it's like hitting a brick wall. They can't get through. We just have such a tight-knit unit and discipline. And again, defending at the very highest level is what Eddie's saying there, and I completely agree with him. We've got some quality defenders who stay very disciplined as well. Now, on Miggy Almiron, he says, I think by not thinking too much and just enjoying his football, which he is, Miggy's best when he's playing to his strengths, which is all action, all energy, and really good things have happened off the back of that for him. So it's clear that Eddie Howe and his coaching staff are really working with this guy, and we've seen Miggy come to fruition this season. He's not frightened to shoot the ball anymore. He's not frightened to take players on. He's getting involved in little one-touch football, and, if you look back even last season, when he was getting the ball in shooting areas, it would go miles wide or miles over the bar. But his confidence is so high now that he's taking shots on. He had 3 shots, decent efforts on Wednesday. Of course, one of them flew in. One of them was just over, and the other one, again, just higher than that. So he's got it in his locker, and we starting to see the real Miggy now, and I'm delighted. I'm delighted, because sitting watching him when he came off the other night, sitting on the bench with a gleaming smile on his face, that's what you want to see from all your players. Just loving being at the club and loving playing the football. Now, finally, he went on to talk about the picture of of course, the 4 defenders and Nick Pope all getting a group hug at the end of the match, which we all saw, and it was amazing to see. He says, I thought it was a really nice moment. You want that feeling, sharing the success with the people around you've competed with. I also recognise the guys around those players. They're just as important. The defensive group is very strong, and it's clear, that picture of them there with the 4 of them and Nick Pope walking up to them, beaming smiles on the face. They know they've got another 3 points. They know they've done a wonderful job, and again, another clean sheet, which is what defenders live for. They live for clean sheets, and it's like strikers scoring a goal. When you see defenders getting clean sheets and defending the way they have, it is fantastic to watch. It really is. It's fantastic to see, and see the jubilation on the faces and the camaraderie. That's the big thing for me, is the camaraderie. You see it there. You know that they're all in it together, and it's bloody brilliant. It really is. Now, finally, what I want to talk about is this trip to Saudi Arabia. Very, very, of course, we're going to get flack again because of, you'll get the human rights and everything else thrown at you because of Saudi Arabia, even though that we know in our own hearts that they are really, really trying to improve things over there. We've had Saudi people coming on to the fan forums that we do and have said that it's not the country that it's made out to be in the media, to lay off a little bit, which it's never going to happen, because people out there, you get the PC brigade all the time. We're not saying that there isn't issues and human rights there, but let's work with them. Let's work. Something good come out of it, just like hopefully something good comes out of the World Cup in Qatar. But listen, Eddie Howe's defended the trip, as we saw earlier there in the press conference, because he said it's purely a football decision. Now, when he says it's a football decision, yes, it is. But of course, Newcastle United are owned by who they're owned by. They're always going to take trips to Saudi Arabia. That is inevitable. It's always going to happen, no matter, even if it was another football club owned by these present owners, they would also be going to Saudi Arabia when they can. Now, obviously, the last trip was a big, big success, because they came back raring to go and raring to keep Newcastle United in the Premier League. And that's exactly what happened. They stayed in the Premier League, and all was great, all was good, and we moved on. Obviously, the friendlies over there were a little bit dodgy with Kieran Clark getting sent off and having a bit of an altercation. But you know what? It happens. But the trip itself was a huge success. And Eddie has called it, saying just like it's going on a pre-season trip, get away from everything, get some warm weather training in while the other guys are at the World Cup. There is nothing wrong with it. And of course, they take on Al Hilal. I think it's December the 8th or something along those lines in, of course, Saudi Arabia in Riyadh. So, they get a game in there as well. So they keep up the match fitness, etc. And he said going there last year was very beneficial and bonded the team, sorry. So it bonded them together, which it did, because you see, when they come back from Saudi Arabia, they went on such a great run, which, of course, pulled us out of the relegation zone, and the rest is history, as they say. It focused our attention to stay in the Premier League, which is exactly what it did. And listen, we're in a different position this season, whereas maybe, just maybe, by the time the World Cup gets underway, we are around 6th or 8th in the Premier League, and we may be pushing for a European spot next season, which is crazy to think. But I think it's maybe a year earlier than the new owners would have dreamed of. But listen, who cares? We know we've got the financial backing if we did get into Europe to do something about it. It's not like we're going in too early or anything like that. Just going off, the plans and things like that about where they want to take the club. So I think it's beneficial for everybody. We could come back with that same sort of, refreshed minds, refreshed bodies, and go at it for the second part of the season. And maybe with a couple of new signings in the January window, see where we end up. See where we end up in the league. Because I think Eddie wants to keep that camaraderie, wants to keep the morale going, he wants to keep everything fresh as possible, and this trip is exactly what that's going to do. So for me, I ain't got a single problem with it. And again, you're going to get the usual journalists coming out and hammering us for doing it and things like that, and saying, "Oh, how dare Newcastle United do this?" When it's blatantly obvious that is going to happen when you're owned by who we are owned by. You are going to go to Saudi Arabia to promote the football club, and in vice versa, promote Saudi Arabia. So why it's a good thing, and why can't good things happen from trips like this? I don't understand why the media makes such a big rigmarole of it if we can go out there and help people and promote the football club, and good things happen from it. Why does it always have to be negative all the time when good things can happen? But there you go. That's a press conference reaction anyway. So let me know what you think about what Eddie Howe had to say. What do you think of the trip to Saudi Arabia? Do you think it'll have the same effect on the players that it did last year and maybe come back and challenge for a European spot? Just leave a comment below about, all the other things that he said in the press conference as well. But as usual, guys, if you have enjoyed today's video, please do hit that like button. Help us move up those YouTube search results. And of course, if you're new to the channel and you like what you see, hit that subscribe button. Become part of the Toon Review community. It's a fantastic community with wonderful people subscribed to this channel. And also hit the notification bell, which will let you know when we go live or we upload a video. If you're watching this on Friday, don't forget the double header tonight, 7 p.m. We've got the Spurs against Newcastle match review for around 40-45 minutes, and then with a 15-minute break, 8 p.m. live again with TTR Friday. So we're going to have a real laugh on there, get you chuckling and get you smiling again, celebrating the end of the week and welcome him in the weekend. So thanks very much for watching, guys. Have a great Friday. Take care.